Hello everyone. Hello. Hello guys. Hello guys. Hello guys. How is everyone? I want us to do this live skin retouching video, and you should know in the comments about any questions you may be having from this very live skin retouching video, and just drop your questions in the comment section and I'll be able to answer those various questions you guys are going to be dropping in the comment section. So I was just testing something right here. So we want to edit an image, and I want you guys to drop your questions or your queries in the comment section as we do image right now. And as you can see right now, we are going to be starting editing, and I want to show you guys every single step about skin retouching in Photoshop. So first of all, we want to learn about how to import your images into Photoshop. Remember, when you're importing your images into Photoshop, we have various methods to import the photos into Photoshop. So for this method, I'm going to be using the open option. And guys, I finally upgraded my Photoshop, and I'm using Photoshop 2020. So I want to show you guys each and every step about skin retouching so that we can understand, learn, and benefit from this very live skin retouching video. So you want to start. So first of all, when you're importing your images, especially for the new versions of Photoshop, we have this different interface. So just come right here and click open, and when you click open, it is going to give you various folders or where your images have been stored. So you have to look for that given folder. So for this case, I think mine, let me look for the image you're going to be using for this very tutorial. So you have to look for the location of your image that you're going to be doing the retouching on. So right now I'm trying to look for the image I'm going to be retouching in this very live video. So let me look for it. It's like I'm failing to get the image, so I think I'm just going to open this right here, and I'm going to look for the image the right way. So I'm going to look for the image, and I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to, I think I stored my image right in this folder. So under this folder, I'm going to come and open this. Then I'm going to look for the image you're going to be retouching. So I'm going to click right there, and it is going to open up right quick. I don't know, I'm failing to get my image. So I think let's retouch this image basically. So just come and click open. So when you come and click open, it is going to open your camera raw interface. Since this is a raw image, you can see it has now opened up our camera raw interface, and I'm using a camera raw 12.4. so this is the camera raw version we have for my Photoshop 2020. So I'm going to first of all reset each and everything. So I want to reset so that you guys can understand each and everything. So I usually come and select my picture profile because I shoot my images using Adobe Landscape. So when you do that, you'll get back your colors the way you're looking at them initially on your camera screen. So I want to reset all this. So remember, Canon usually has those magentas or those purple kind of fills added to the image. So we want to turn this towards the left hand side, and don't worry, we're going to be color grading this image even further. So I'm going to come to the highlights, and I'm going to knock the highlights down like that because I want to gain as enough detail in this image. And I'm going to come to the whites and also knock them down like that. Then I'm going to come to the shadows, and I'm going to pump it up slightly. Then I'm going to also come right here to the exposure. I'm going to expose it. Then I'm going to pump up the contrast a little bit. Then knock my blacks down to around -5. I think this looks fine to me. Then after that, I'm going to come right down the vibrance of this image, because it was really looking not nice to me. So I'm going to knock this down like that, because she's a melanin kind of model, and I'm going to just knock this down like that. I think the colors right there look really nice and fine. So basically, this is all I'm going to be doing for the camera raw adjustments. So you're going to open the image into Photoshop by just coming right here and clicking open. So when you come and click open, your image is going to be opened into your Photoshop. So we are going to be learning about frequency separation in Photoshop. So basically, what is frequency separation? Frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that divides the image into two. So under frequency separation, we have the two methods. We have the mixer brush tool method and the lasso tool method. So we're going to be handling all that. Then I want to first of all explain to you guys some information about frequency separation. Is a skin retouching technique. It gets this image. Let me zoom in so that you guys can see what I mean. It gets for you this image right here, like we have it right now. Then it divides this image, this very image, into two. So it gets it, it divides it into two. So those two layers, one layer is going to be containing the colors and the skin tones in this very image. And now for the other second layer, it is going to be containing the textures, or maybe the outlines or the details in the image. So for the colors and the skin tones, we are going to end up with a blurry kind of image. And for the textures, we are going to be having those beautiful outlines or the details in this image. So we want to create those two layers for this very image. And in order to create those two layers, we are going to come right down right here on the background, and you're going to make two copies. And in order to do that, you can simply drag the background image to this icon, or I'm going to undo that, or you can just come and click Ctrl or Command J on your keyboard to make Ctrl or Command J twice. So I'm going to do that like that. So when you click Ctrl or Command J twice, you're going to be getting these two layers like I've just explained to you guys. So this bottom layer is going to be our low frequency layer. So I'm going to turn on my caps. So I'm going to name that a low frequency, or some people prefer to call it color. So I'm going to put all these right here, or some people call it the tones layer. Then this top layer is the high frequency layer. So basically, frequency separation contains those two layers. So I'm going to put this high frequency. So high frequency like that. Or some people call it textures. So you shouldn't worry if at all you come across these two terminologies or these various terms. They all mean the same thing. So basically what we are going to be doing right now, we are going to turn off this texture layer, and you're going to select this low frequency or color layer like that. So when you select this layer, we want to only remain with the colors or the skin tones like it suggests for us right here. So in order to remain with those colors or the skin tones like we have right now, we're just going to come right to filter like this. So let me repeat that. First of all, we have to make sure this layer is turned off, the high frequency. So when it is turned off, come and select the low frequency or the color or tones layer for whichever name you may have given it. Come and select it like that. Make sure it is selected. And when it is selected or activated, come right here to filter and come to blur and come to Gaussian blur. So when you come to Gaussian blur, you may have this at its default. So what we want to do, we want to only remain with only and only the colors on this low frequency layer. So we want to remain with only the colors on this very layer, or the skin tones. So we only want to remain with those colors so that we may have no details left in this image. So you get this little box, and this is where you control your overall image. So come right here and zoom out like this. So make sure you move until you see the area that has more skin textures than the rest of the skin. So for this case, we're going to go with the forehead area that seems to have more skin textures than the rest of the image. So I think we have some people following along. We have Dinesh and Bright Chayaya from Malawi. Thank you for watching. So we want I want to remove these textures so that we can remain with the colors and the skin tones. And in order to do that, we are just going to come right here. So we have this radius slider. You can see it moves from the left to the right, and we have this little icon right here. So what we are going to do, we are going to start moving this. I want you guys to notice these details on the face. So when you keep on moving this slider, you see it tends to become blurry. So we want to move this slider until we have lost out on all of the textures on this very image. So we're going to move this slider while we notice these textures. So I'm just going to continue moving this slider like that until I lose out completely on those textures. So I'm going to go with a value of 10, the radius of 10. So after I have done that, I'm going to come. So make sure your preview is on. So after I have done so, I'm just going to come and click OK, like that. So when you click OK, you will see your image is going to kind of look blurry. I hope you can see. It is going to look blurry like that. So you shouldn't worry if at all your image is not or looks to be out of focus. You shouldn't mind about that. So we are going to come right here on the high texture layer, or the textures layer, or the high frequency layer. So when you come to it, make sure you select it. So remember, we have been on this tones layer. So just come and click to highlight this high frequency or the textures layer. Then come and click on this eye icon to activate or bring back the visibility of this very layer. And when you bring back that visibility, remember right now we want to remain with the textures for this very layer. We only want to remain with the textures or the outlines for this very layer. And in order to do that, we are going to be extracting or subtracting the textures from the color or the skin tones layer. And in order to do that, you're going to come right here to image. So come to image and come to apply image, like that. So I know you may not be having this, and I'm going to be explaining to you in a bit. Your image won't be looking like this. You may be having way different results from me. So you can see I have various values right here. So under source, we have the name of our image. You can see this under source. We have 1698. So this is the name of the file we are editing. So you shouldn't mind about the file details. Then we have layer, and when you click right down here and drop down, we have that very option. Remember, we want to only subtract the textures from the tones layer. So we are going to come, you have to select the layer where you're going to be subtracting a given texture from. So for this case, we are going to be subtracting our textures from the color layer. So come and select the color or tones layer, and when you select that, make sure you come under the blending mode and change it to subtract, like that. So make sure your opacity is 100, yeah, and make sure your preview is on. Make sure these two boxes, preserve transparency and mask, are not checked or selected or marked, and make sure you put these values, scale 2 and offset 128. So the reason for putting these values right here is because we want to get a 50% grade. Remember, we have two colors in the RGB, 6 in the RGB colors. So we have those 256. So when you divide 2 by 2, we want to get a 50% value of the colors in the RGB. So we want to divide that by 2. So 256 divided by 2, you get 128. That's why you have these values right here. So after you have done all those really well, you get your image looking like this. So when I try to zoom in by clicking Control plus or Command plus on the keyboard, you see the image is now looking like this, and we only have textures and outlines for this very layer. So what we are going to do right now, we are now going to come right here and click OK like this. So come and click OK like that. So you shouldn't worry if at all your image is really looking weird, because I'm going to be sharing with you guys how you're going to achieve or get back the image looking really nice and beautiful the way it was meant to look. So come right here under the blending mode and change it from normal, then come right all the way down and click linear light. So when you click linear light, you're going to get back the image the way it was initially before. So remember what I told you when we were starting this live retouching video. I told you guys frequency separation basically divides the image into two frequencies, that is the high frequency and the low frequency. So the low frequency contains the colors or the skin tones, and the high frequency contains the textures. And when you add or put these two together, you're going to get back your original background image. So we want to prove that we have gotten the original background image and we have successfully done our frequency separation on this very image. And in order to see that, we are just going to come right here and put these two layers in a group. So I'm going to click Command or Control and click on both layers and make sure they are highlighted. So you can either drag them and drop. So hold down, right click and left click, drag towards the folder icon, or you can just click Ctrl or Command G on the keyboard to put this in a group. So we want to rename this frequency separation because we want to be uniform at the end of it all. So you're going to name this frequency separation like this. So when you do that, we want to now prove that we have successfully done the frequency separation on this very image. So we want to turn this on and off to see if at all there is any difference between the original image and our frequency separation group. So you can see when I turn this on and off, there's not going to be any difference at all between the background image and the frequency separation group. So that implies that we have successfully separated the frequencies, or we have successfully divided the image into two. So what we are going to do basically, we are now going to open the frequency separation group right here by coming and clicking on this drop down icon, and it's going to open your frequency separation group like that. So what we are going to do right now, we are going to come right here and we are going to select the texture layer. So remember, for whichever layer you want to add a layer on top. Okay, let me rephrase that. If at all I wanted to add a layer in between these two layers, I'm going to select the lower layer like this, because I want to create a layer in between these two layers. So for this case, you're going to select the high frequency layer because I want to create a layer on top of the high frequency or the textures layer. And in order to do that, and I'm going to come right down here to adjustments, and I'm going to create a black and white adjustment layer on top of our textures layer. So you may be wondering why I have created this black and white layer. The reason as to why I have created this black and white layer is because I want to blend the unevenness in the skin tones. And in order to see that quite well, you need a whole player that is going to guide us when we are using the mixer brush tool. First of all, to blend the unevenness in the skin tones, so you cannot see the areas quite well with just a plain black and white layer, unless you come to the reds like this, click on that icon and drag it towards the left hand side to slightly darken the image. So when you do that, you're going to be able to see the bumpiness in the skin tones of our model. So you're going to close that like that. So we now have a whole player that is going to help us when we are going to blend the unevenness. So this whole player is going to guide us really well and nicely, because it is going to be showing us every unevenness in the skin tones. So remember, skin retouch evening out skin tones basically. So we want to even out those skin tones so that we have smooth skin tone transitions that are going to enable us to get a really fine, nice and perfect image at the end of this specific. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to get our mixer brush tool, and before we can do that, remember we only want to blend the skin tones in this very image. So in order to blend the skin tones in the image, you're going to first of all select the skin tones or the layer that is containing the colors or the skin tones in this very image. So when you do select this layer, remember right now we are going to be learning about using a mixer brush tool. So a mixer brush tool is basically more of going to make us more of artists or painters, whereby we are going to be blending the skin tones using a mixer brush. This is a mixer brush and not the ordinary brushes in Photoshop. So this is a mixer brush tool. So I'm going to be showing you guys what a mixer brush tool basically looks like. So you're going to come under the brushes, right click and get a mixer brush tool. And if at all you don't have it right there, for older versions, you're going to get your mixer brush tool. When you right click this option, you may get your mixer brush tool right there. So this is my mixer brush tool. I'm going to right click and I'm going to get my mixer brush tool. So the mixer brush tool basically is like a brush with a drop of maybe color right on top of it. So that is what a mixer brush tool is. So what we are going to be doing right now, we are now basically going to learn about how to best set the mixer brush tool in order to achieve the best out of our skin retouching. So in order to get the best results out of your skin retouching, we now want to set the brush. Remember, brushes really have various impacts. Remember, like when you're painting and you have the brush, remember you have to maybe apply a given force to increase the intensity of a brush, or maybe make the brush more wet to apply a given effect on a given area. So someone is asking, Ozone Joshi is asking, can you do outdoor retouch? This image I'm using for this very tutorial is an outdoor image. I hope you can see the background. We have leaves right there in the background. So this is an outdoor image that we are doing the retouching on. So back to the mixer brush tool settings for skin retouching. So the mixer brush tool, basically you have to first of all make sure it is a clean brush. We don't want the brush to contain any color when we are going to blend the skin tones in this very image. Then we have two options right here. So when you click right here, you get back the color loaded on your mixer brush tool. So come and make sure it is a clean brush like that. And what we are going to do, we want to now set the brush. So make sure you deselect this very first option and select this second option. So I want to share with you guys the reason as to why we are now selecting the very second option right here. The reason as to why we are selecting this second option is because we want the brush to clean itself automatically. So Photoshop is going to automatically help us clean the brush when we are trying to blend the skin tone. So for whichever stroke we make on the skin, it is going to clean the brush for us automatically. So we don't have to come back and clean the brush, and it would be a very tiresome process. So you're going to come to the wetness, determines the amount of skin textures you're going to remain with in your retouched image. So make sure you use a wetness of around between 7 and 9 to get good results. So we are going to be using a load of 75%. Then we're going to be using a mix of 90% and a flow of 100% for this very image. So I'm going to go back through the steps for the mixer brush tool and how to set it quite right so that you get the best out of your skin retouching. So basically, we want first of all make sure it is a clean brush tool, and now we have two options right here. Deselect the first option if at all it is selected, and highlight the second option or select this second option. The reason for selecting the second option is because we want to retain or to the brush to clean itself after we have brushed or blended a particular area on the model's skin. Then the wetness is going to determine the amount of textures we want to remain with in the image. Remember, we want to retain as much as natural skin textures as possible in the images we do retouch. So make sure the load is 75 because we want a medium kind of feel when we are trying to blend. We are going to be using a mix of 90% and a flow of 100%. So make sure sample all layers is not checked or selected because we want to work on this low frequency or the color or skin tones layer, because that is going to be containing the skin tones in the overall image. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to be blending, or we are going to start blending the unevenness in the skin tones. So we are going to zoom in slightly by clicking Ctrl plus or Command plus on the keyboard like that. Then we are going to increase on the size of the mixer brush by using the right bracket on the keyboard. So the left bracket reduces on the size of the brush and the right bracket increases on the size. So you have to use those two options depending on the area you're going to do the skin tone blending, or where you're going to blend the skin tones on the image. So you're going to start blending this very area. Make sure you're on this low frequency layer or the color or tones layer, and now start blending or mixing those areas. And when you're doing the mixing, make sure you mix the midtones alone, the highlights alone, and the shadows alone. So we wouldn't want to blend particular areas, because if at all I drag from the highlights to the shadows, it is going to pick skin tones from the shadows to the highlights, and it is going to end up distorting the original shape of the model's face. So we wouldn't want that. So you just want to blend the image the way light is falling onto it. So you're just harmonizing those skin tones or the colors in the model's face like that. So I want to show you guys the progress so far. So turn off the black and white layer so you can see the before, after. You can see what we have just done with just the mixer brush tool. So we are just going to come and activate this, and make sure you're selected on the color or tones layer. So I'm going to increase the wetness slightly to around 8. So 8 will do for me, and I'm just going to continue blending those particular areas like this. I'm sorry, I don't usually forward my tutorials, and yeah, I can't forward the live video anyway. So just come and blend. You can see I'm just blending this. I'm going to also blend this. So I'm going to increase on the size, and I'm just going to blend the model's face like that. So make sure you don't blend a particular area for too long, because it is going to be doubling the wetness effect. So if at all I brushed here of 16 on that particular area, and we wouldn't want that to be done to the image. So let's just blend the unevenness in the skin tones like that. So mix the midtones alone, the highlights alone. So just blend the bumpiness on. So just blend those areas. That's basically what we are just trying to, the unevenness in those very skin tones. And you're just getting rid of those bumps or